Everybody's got to start somewhere. Every celebrity, star athlete, politician, any well-known, famous person started from somewhere. And usually it's very humble beginnings, whether they started working at McDonald's, maybe in a grocery store, but then eventually they were able to build their brand and who they were, who they are, and who we know them as today. So really, just kind of wanted to give a brief introduction to who I am, what my career path has kind of looked like for me. I'm a recent graduate with a bachelor's degree from Utah State University. I graduated in international business, thinking that I really wanted to go abroad and help people and kind of build businesses around the world. I speak Russian, a little bit of Spanish, and I just thought maybe it would be really cool. Embassy work was kind of what I wanted to do initially, and still is what I want to go for eventually, but that dream has somewhat changed. I've realized I really like living here in Logan, family nearby, and so my career path is a pretty short one just because I haven't been in the workforce very long. I'm 25, turning 25 here in a couple months. Just graduated from college, but I've worked ever since I was 16. So I've got 8 years of experience just about, if not more, just to kind of build on. My first job I ever had was actually at Chick-fil-A. I remember my first day, I was actually assigned to serve the fries. I was in charge of cooking the fries, salting the fries, and putting them in the little fry holder cup things for different orders. It was a new store that they had just opened in Boise, just off the highway coming out. It was kind of by Cabela's where it used to be. I haven't been in Boise in a while, so it might have changed since then. But it was just off the highway. It was a brand new store, new owner. I remember going to the opening ceremony and seeing all the new employees, and it's like, yeah, this is the Chick-fil-A family. I got this weird metal baton. I think it's still at my parents' house that I just don't use, and it literally was just a metal, probably 2 foot long baton that just has Chick-fil-A written on it. And that was it. And the whole idea was, we're passing the Chick-fil-A baton on to you, new employees. You guys are going to carry it forward and really help the brand and build the brand and things like that. And I remember thinking it was really cool. It was my first job, and I was like, wow, this is like a fancy event. I think it was in the Taco Bell arena or something like that, but it was like a fancy event. I had to wear a suit. I brought my mom with me because I didn't know what else to expect. I met my boss. I met the franchise owner. I think his name was Joe. Great guy. So first day of work, I was working and I was doing the fries, and one of my buddies from high school was also hired to Chick-fil-A. I think he got let go. I always thought he quit, but I was told later that he might have got fired. I don't remember, but apparently I was good enough in doing the job that I was hired to do in cooking fries and doing the dishes. I think it was $7.50 an hour was what I started at. I never learned how to make Chick-fil-A sauce. Usually we just got that prepackaged, so if you're gonna email me or ask me about that, I don't know. I don't have the recipe. I'm sure there's some copycat ones. Heck, you can even buy it in stores now. But anyway, so I did really well in that job, in that position, and I actually was able to learn all the stations. I worked the cashier a little bit. I did the drive-through. I breaded the chicken. I cooked the chicken. I was very well liked. I guess I'll say that. I've always been a hard worker. I've been determined. So one funny story with that's kind of still funny for my family is I think I was a senior in high school at that time, and my boss came over to me and he said, I think we could really turn you into a really good leader. I think you could be a shift lead. You could maybe even own one of the stores. Or if you could just drop out of high school and just to get more hours and things like that. And I remember laughing, just going, you want me to drop out of high school so I can continue to work fast food? Like, that's ridiculous. And now my family kind of teases me about it now because they're like, well, if you only would have dropped out of high school, maybe you'd own a Chick-fil-A or two. And so things to think about. I would never consider dropping out of high school just to work fast food. But so anyway, that was my first job. I worked there for probably about a year and a half, and then I moved on to actually a custodian job with the Boise School District. And basically what we were, it was the summer of 2016? Something like that. I think it was the summer of 2016 where it was me, and we were kind of like a ragtag group of custodians. if you can imagine the Avengers, walking out of the Avenger building, you got the cinematic thing. It was basically that, but high school students, 17 and 18, going around to different high schools in Boise to do summer cleaning. So that was, I thought that was fun. I was actually one of the drivers, so I get to drive one of the car. I think there were 2 cars that we drove around to different high schools to either clean lockers, desks, gyms, basically to help the school custodians to get their cleaning and all their checklists done during summer break. Because that's usually, I think the schools around there had like maybe 1 or 2 custodians. And so we're a group of like eight high school students going around like cleaning to help the main janitor. So that was one thing, and I didn't realize it then. But then my next job after that was doing, again, custodial work at the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah. Just the same thing. We'd go around to the different buildings, a huge facility there for their mission prep for the youngins. Just huge buildings that we'd go around. We'd clean, shampoo the carpets, and vacuum, and set up the gymnasium every week for their devotionals, and go around to clean up and just keep things tidy. And the missionaries helped too. I think during their day off, they had to clean their building, they had to clean their bathroom, thing like that. And so we'd help facilitate that and kind of guide them in that, because a lot of them didn't really know what to do. So that was probably the next job. I was in Provo because I was going to BYU, and then I ended up switching to USU because that's where I started dating my wife. She eventually became my wife. We got engaged not too long after I left Provo, and then I came up here to USU, which is where I graduated. So let's see, after my custodial work, I actually went to GE Healthcare, which was a big facility here in Logan that did a lot of shipping and manufacturing of medical supplies. Not like syringes and cloths and things like that, but they did a lot of the, I think it was like serums. I think it was like bovine serums, something like that. It was weird, and I never really looked into it that much. But I know we shipped to, I think, a bunch of hospitals around the world and the area, and in the U.S. to actually get them the supplies they need so that they could make their medications and they could get their prescriptions filled and things like that. So that was really cool. I worked mostly in the shipping department. That's why I don't really know like what was in them per se. Like I know it was kind of serums and compounds that were developed in there, and I'd seen the clean rooms and everything else in the facility. But I mostly worked with shipping, so my job was going into the storerooms, picking the products, and then boxing them up, and whether they needed to go with dry ice or not, if they needed to be frozen by the time they got there so that it wouldn't expire or anything like that. So I did a lot with the shipping. That was my first actual full-time position, was working in the shipping department. Yeah, so I worked in shipping for, I think it was about 8 months, and I probably would have worked there longer, but they couldn't support my school schedule. It was my first full-time job. I had never really worked 40 hours a week before that. So it was kind of different going in every day for 8 hours a day and then going home. And then I think we got off early on Fridays because we worked like, I think it was 8.5 Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays were kind of a shorter day. So I did that for quite a while, for about 8 months, just to get money back into my account, because I was drained between driving back and forth between Provo and rent and everything else, and it wasn't sustainable. So I basically banked up cash so I could pay for school. Then during school, I did a tiny bit of substitute teaching for a PE teacher at the elementary school my mom worked at. Every once in a while, she would be absent. She was like, "Hey, can you just come and sub?" And so I went through the school district again, and it was funny because my first day, I remember just going to my mom, and my mom was just like, "Look, you just need to have the kids somewhat entertained for 40 minutes. Like, that's it. Have them run around, let them blow off steam. Like, that's it. And so I got like a plan of like, hey, these are the different things you could do. I basically threw that out the window, and I said, all right, we're going to either do dodgeball or we're going to do like six base. We're going to play these different games that I remember playing growing up that I was like, oh, these are way fun. So I did that for a tiny bit while I was going to school. And then I think the next job I had was the summer. And then after I did the substitute teaching, I really didn't like it all that much. It wasn't very fun for me. And working with kids, like it was great working with kids, but I was just like, okay, I'm literally just babysitting them for 40 to 50 minutes. So I didn't really enjoy that. I've never really wanted to be a teacher. in that sense. I would probably teach older kids, maybe. Just wasn't for me. The next one that I worked at was actually a construction company for Dan Brown. He just does projects around the area here in Logan. We built a hay shed. It was in Idaho. Anyway, so we built that, and it was really early morning because you wanted to get out there before the sun came up, because otherwise it was just beating down on you all day. And we did a lot with metal exterior work, so like those metal panels for like new buildings, things like that. That's mostly what we did, and I sucked at it. I was really bad, just because I really didn't want to learn anything. Like, it was just a job for me, and I'm kind of kicking myself now because that was actually really helpful. The different tools, the different ways, and seeing the building actually go up. I wish I would have learned welding from him, because he was actually a really good welder. After that, I found another job that was part-time, and I actually am still working at that job. It's a company called Anarchy Outdoors. It's a long-range precision rifle accessory store. So we sell like aftermarket parts. We don't deal with ammunition or firearm sales or anything like that. We just sell basically upgrades, things to do for like competition shooters, hunters, things like that. And then with that, we also outfit police departments and SWAT teams with like tactical gear from a company in Slovenia. So that was the job I started at. I think it's now an office manager position. I was answering emails, phones. So I did that for quite a while, and it was really nice. It was flexible with my schedule. I worked probably 30 hours a week while going to school full time with about 17, 18 credits, just to try to get my degree as fast as possible. And then eventually I was promoted to assistant manager, where I actually started to oversee a lot of the other employees, the shipping operations, inventory, making sure we're ordering things in time, making sure we have the right products in stock. And then eventually from there, as assistant manager, I was actually promoted to director of operations, where I do a lot of the similar work. I oversee the day-to-day operations, make sure everything gets shipped out on time, making sure customers are taken care of, making sure that we can keep track of inventory, do some of the ordering as well. And it's honestly been really awesome. I love my job. I love the guys I work with. They're a great group of guys. So that's my career path. That's where I'm at right now. And then over the past few months, I've just wanted to dip into some kind of creative outlet. And I really wanted to get into some kind of way that I can express myself differently. I've loved watching streams, podcasts, YouTube videos, things like that, where you're just able to express your opinions freely. And if I can help somebody find a way to get to that dream job, that position that they want, because I remember being in high school and college and going, okay, I like these things. I was really good at math and science, and going, okay, let me do something with that. My dad did business degree. He's an HR director. You'll probably hear an interview from him later. And so I really wanted to talk with people who have these careers, because right now, actually over the past few months, I should say, I was looking at other careers and jobs and opportunities out there, because I was like, hey, this is kind of the job I was working in college. Like, it's a college job. I want an adult career, you know? So as I was looking for other jobs, I applied for a ton of jobs, and just nobody got back to me. And I wasn't really worth that much, because all I had was a bachelor's degree. So what I wanted to do was basically talk with people who have reached these points in their career, whether it's HR director, whether it's manager, whether it's pediatrician, nutritionist, sales guy, just a whole bunch of different people to help others to see what kind of jobs they think they would want to try, what kind of skills they would need to develop in themselves to really stand out and to land these jobs. And that's what I want to do. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just a guy who has some opinions and wants to talk to people and do more research on it. So if you like what you hear, make sure to drop a follow. Send me your feedback. I want to hear how I can do better, how I can better engage, what you guys want to hear, who you want to hear from. I want to be open and honest. So thanks for tuning in.